All right, just a very quick recap. So last time we did two patterns. First one is called a persona pattern, that anytime you ask question, you ask AI to do something, you give a very specific role of that person who will answer your question. So that way you will see the responses are going to be totally on behalf of that persona, and they're going to use that persona's way to give you all the responses, whether it's the style or the content itself. If you remember, we showed you the example of, having Mr. Beat to tell you the YouTube or the video editing techniques, and then he is going to share a lot of his video style, the technique or tips he used, right? So that's the purpose. And then we also talk about the other one, which is called audience pattern, which is the upper side of a persona pattern. The persona pattern talks about you specify a role and let the role to talk to you. And then this audience pattern specifies that you explain who you're going to explain this to, and then the AI will adjust the answers so that it fits that audience perfectly. Okay, the best example is you want to explain certain concept to a certain group of people who don't have a lot of background. For example, you want to explain a very hard concept to younger kids or a younger kids with certain specific knowledge like soccer or some other hobbies. And then this pattern will be very, very effective. Okay, so that's called the audience pattern. All right, so both these are super practical, and you will um, be able to see that used a lot in the daily practice. All right, so we're gonna move on. The next pattern is really easy, but it could be very useful. All right, so this pattern is called a question refinement pattern. Okay, so this pattern basically, if you look at example here, okay, so the template is that you're gonna say that from now on, whenever I ask question, okay, suggest a better version of the question to use instead. Okay, so as you can see, this is a very special way of using AI that you gave some kind of prompt upfront, and then you guide the AI to do something for you for the rest of your prompts. The way this one works is, as you can see, is based on the same theory we talked last time, because all the responses you're getting from AI will be based on that input prompt. So writing good, effective prompt, using patterns, that's really the key. But as you may know, writing prompt using natural language. And I don't know how many of you are pretty good at English and writing, creative writing. Some of you probably done a lot of training. A lot of you probably like myself, we are more like a STEM major. Okay. I honestly, I don't like all the language art stuff. That's not my specialty. So my writing isn't that good, honestly. So for a lot of us, you will find it's very challenging to come up with a perfect writing, a perfect prompt. So in this case, we can always use AI to help us to refine our prompts. So that's how this pattern works. All right. So let's give a shot. All right. So I'm gonna put this one and into the prompt. Okay. So from now on, whenever I ask questions, suggest better version of question to use instead. Okay. And then I think the AI will get it immediately. So we will, and he even asks you to automatically rephrase answer the question, or should I ask you first? So I would say, ask me to confirm first. All right, so ready whenever you are. So I'm gonna ask my question. For example, we had I don't know, like a yesterday, the if you saw some of the news, the interest rates got cut. Okay, financial news. How gonna affect anything. Okay, so I saw the interest rate had just been cut. Um, how is that going to affect um, the college students, for example? It's a simple question, okay, but I just feel that maybe I missed some of the details, especially related with finance. So that's the question. And then all right, so see, first of all, they suggest a improved version, but they didn't ask me to confirm. But as you can see here, is that I saw the interest rate was just cut. How would that affect college students, especially in terms of student loans, federal versus private, borrowing costs, and ability to pay for school? Do you want me to go ahead and use that version? Well, they didn't ask me, but they just start to, answer that. But that's pretty cool. However, guys, what I want to show you here is that this version of the prompt compare that one with this one. Okay, it's obviously a lot better. Okay, look at this again. So they know exactly what to focus. Okay, because for college students, some of you might know this one better than I do. You're dealing with loans, you have federal loans, maybe private loans. I don't know how many of you are doing private loans, and then you have borrowing costs and ability to pay for school. That's obviously a much better prompt. When the prompt is better, obviously that's going to give you more confidence and you're more likely to get better responses. Okay. I also want to tell you that this one is very useful when you are trying to use AI to generate certain, even like code or stuff, right? So let's actually try this again. I'm gonna, just to be safe, I'll start a new window. Okay, I'll re-ask this again. And then, yeah, and then I would say a lot of time I find useful is try to specify some kind of feature or system that um, you want to give to the AI coding tool. But sometimes, your description isn't very clear. Okay. Uh, uh, how I want to make an app that is a platform that serves the resources for different college uh, loans, financial assistance, and uh, give students suggestions um, and other related features. So I need to use AI to generate the code for the following app. Okay. All right. How to do that. Something like this. Let's see if they can refine the question first. Okay, so they actually look at your original question. Here is that one, and then improved version. They said that how can I use AI to generate code for an app that helps students discover and compare college loans, financial aid options, and receive personalized financial suggestions. So that's a very direct, you know, refinement on my sentences. So much better, right? And then also they even discover there are more things you can do. Like you can talk about a key feature, AI use cases, recommended tech stack, code generation strategy, looks like tools and other things. Okay, I would say yes. And then they're gonna probably add a lot of other aspect to it, right? So then they specify more things, the core feature of the app, and they talk about a hub, they talk about suggestions, tools, checklist, how to use AI, these features, and chatbot, all the stuff. Okay, the stacks, everything. So this one actually gave you um, much better and more detailed a tech spec for you to use. Okay, so this one doesn't do much code. They said they can do the code for you. But if you think about now, if I gave this whole complete tech specification to the AI tool, compare with the one I used in the beginning, obviously this one you will get a lot better results. Okay, but we did not write this prompt. You will find this thing is very practical. A lot of the time, you want to do, but what you want to do, but you don't know how to specify that accurately. So don't forget, you can always use AI to improve the prompt and then send it back to the AI. Okay. Now this is just one way to do it. You can just straightforwardly tell the AI just to make this prompt better or something like this. So this pattern is called question refinement pattern. All right. All right. Any questions so far? Yeah. Based on this pattern, you can add a lot of other things. Okay, so for example, here, whenever I ask question about diet, suggest a better version of the question that emphasizes healthy eating habits and sound nutrition. So always add that kind of uh, highlights and emphasis. Whenever I ask a question about who is the greatest of all time, suggest a better version of the question that puts multiple players' unique accomplishment into perspective. Okay, so you can definitely give a lot more details and constraints. Okay, so that yeah, we'll get better. Okay, so this pattern, pretty simple. All right, moving forward. The next pattern to look at is something called a flipped interaction pattern. This is also very useful. This is how it works. So I would like you to ask me questions to achieve certain goals. And you need to ask questions until the condition Y is met or achieve this goal. Ask me the question one at a time, two at a time, or and ask me the first question. So this pattern actually solved the problem that sometimes we don't need to know what kind of question to ask. Because again, we keep talking about like the input prompt, the input sentence is so important. And the last pattern tells you, okay, sometimes you can have AI to help you. So this pattern helps you if you don't even know what to ask. There will be a lot of cases like this. Okay, so for example, we've been talking about startups all the time. Okay, let's say that one day you and your classmates friend decide to do a startup. Okay, and you have idea, you probably implement something, you put money in it, and eventually you might want to form a company with it, right? So in this case, you might need to do some kind of a agreement on a company. For example, you want to decide how you want to split the equity, the shares, what is the voting procedure, all of this, right? So you want to basically register a company and then come up with a they call it shareholder agreements. Okay. So, if you want to generate some kind of agreement like this, normally what you do is that you go to a accountant or sometime a lawyer. Sometimes I think the accountant can also do that for you. See, so you go there, meet them, make appointment, and then they gonna collect a lot of questions from you. Okay, your name, your status, the percent of equity, role, and everything. They ask you so many questions, and after that they will come up with agreement document for you, right? So, but now if I say, well, I want to use the AI to generate it, well, you can just simply say, I want to generate a template or agreement, but the AI probably can tell you a template, but the AI doesn't know exactly what the informations you guys have, the specific data you have, right? So, but then without any of this legal background, you probably don't even know what to ask. Okay, so in this case, what we can do is to ask AI. Well, you ask me what kind of information you need. You collect all this information until you got enough information, and then you generate it. Okay, so let's try this one. This actually is pretty useful. This is almost like you seeing a content or lawyer or some any other things. Let me try this one first. Okay, so. The problem here is that I'd like you to ask questions to help me to write a company operating agreement. Okay, so this is agreement that very important for any company specifies who are the shareholders, how many percent of shares you have, and all that information. Ask me questions until you have enough information to write agreement. Ask me a question one each time, and ask me the first question. Okay, so let's try this one. All right. So question one, what is the full legal name of the company which state is registered as an LLC? Okay, so the name is that Prompt Tech, registered in California. And then they start follow up. Is that a single member LLC or is a multi-member LLC? It's multi-member. List the full name of the members and their ownership percentage. Okay, so I'm owning like 25%. All right. And then let me pick other shareholders. Okay, so we have Mohammed, he's owning 40%, and we have Animal, and then he's owning what's that? 35. All right, so Mohammed is the main shareholder, so we'll put this one here. All right, so what are the roles and responsibility for each member and CTO, CEO? Okay, so I am the CTO. and obviously Mohammed is the CEO, and Animal is our CFO. How will the profits and losses will be allocated? So basically, if you guys make money or if we make money, and how are we going to distribute it? Just based on the ownership percentage, I think that's a very reasonable way. Okay, just I would say according to the ownership percentage. Next question. How would the voting right be handled? Should that voting be weighted based on the ownership percentage or they have equal voting power? Now, I think the ownership percentage is more reasonable. All right. So what's the initial contribution? Um, so and yes, I would say, based on the say based on the percentage, put cash. The total is we're gonna decide to do 500K. All right, so that's our distribution. Okay, so Muhammad and Emma, don't forget to put those money, get those money ready later. Okay, so that's your weight for your company. Okay, so will the distribution be made regularly or made at the end of at the description of the members of management members? Yeah, we'll just say that regularly and maybe annually. And then what happens if a member want to leave the company or sell the ownership? So that's something about exit. So very important. A lot of times when you do a company, you often think about, the revenues, the profit, and how you want to distribute the profit, but you never see the problems and potential issues and risks. What if someone don't want to do it anymore? What if someone just don't do anything? And what if someone want to just quit? All right, so you have to really specify those very in a very early stage. Okay, so I will say that do members get the first right of refusal to buy it, or should there be a anonymous major approval required for any transfer? I would say you know members get the first right of refusal. Do you want to specify any restrictions on competition? So for example, should the members be prohibited from starting joining a competing company? Yes, for 3 years. All right. Next question. How will the major decision be made? Uh, for some this, when you get, for example, we don't want to do the company anymore. We want to stop, right? So majority vote or others. I would say majority vote makes more sense. Any management compensation? Um, I think so. Yes. Each owner get paid, maybe in the beginning you don't have a lot of paid, okay, just $50,000. Do you want to include any provision or other resolving dispute between the members? Um, I would suggest, just some common practice. All right, this is the last question. So do you want to set a specific fiscal year? Yes, I think January to December. Sometimes the company start in the middle of the year. All right, sounds good. So everything is good. Yeah, PDF. All right, so let's see what they can provide it for us. All right, so this one has been generated. It's a very short and concise one. So Prompt Tech LLC operating agreement. This agreement is entered by among the members of the company name, state, fiscal year, and then the ownership and initial contributions. Okay, you guys don't forget this amount of money. Okay, and then this one is managed by the members who have different roles, and we have salary and a voting decision making, profit and loss distribution, transfer buyouts, non competition if you leave, and other things. Okay, so it's very concise, but it does capture the core information. Okay, you can always refine it. This agreement doesn't look very professional because I feel the agreement should have a lot of words. Please refine it. But that does capture the core information. I think let's see if they can generate the better like legal languages. All right, that's the improved version. Let's see if this one getting better. All right, so it looks like a lot better. As you can see, they changed the title, then the bullets definitely looks a lot more formal, right? So just example here. But in the same time, guys, if you want to do this one, even ask AI to generate it, you don't even know what information to put. And then the AI can still give you something, but it's probably going to miss a lot of information, or maybe just give you blanks for you to fill out, right? So that whole process, as we're working with AI, just like here, this back and forth process, it is exactly what you do when you meet a lawyer or accountant, right? You're sitting there, they ask you a bunch of questions until they got everything done, you can leave, and then they will get ready, document ready for you later on. Okay. So this one also very critical. Okay. It solved the problem that you sometimes don't know what to ask. All right. So I wanna do the same thing, guys, here. I want you to just think about this pattern because I think it's very practical. Okay. And see what you can think to use in terms of use cases. Give me some examples. Okay. Here is the form again. I'll give you 3 minutes. Okay. Please do something and try something quickly. All right. So let's see what you guys provide. Okay. So I'm having problems debugging the script. Can you ask me a question about it until I figure it out? This one, I would say is very useful when you try to learn certain things because obviously if you gave the code and error information, they would just tell you the answer right away. But then if you don't want to get a direct answer, I think this one will be very helpful for you to kind of go through and try different things to learn the debugging process. Yeah, this is also very useful when you try to come up with project ideas. Yeah, very specifically about the project ideas, design the machine learning project. All right, asking question about healthier lifestyle. Designing a multiplayer strategy game. All right, and then very cool car question again from Carlos. Okay, Carlos, what kind of car do you have?
I have two of them. I have
Okay.
a 2016 Toyota Corolla and a 1994 Honda Accord Coupe.
Oh wow, is that 1994 Honda is the type of that racing car that make a lot of noise, that kind of car?
Honestly, I would say yes, just because it's so old. All that stuff in the exhaust is all like rusted out and like
Uh-huh.
just sounds super loud.
No,
Just
but did
because.
you do those kind of modifications that turn that into?
Oh no, not yet. I'm just trying to restore the car right now, so it's not like
Okay.
that.
Oh,
That's why it has like the misfire because I'm still trying to figure it out.
awesome, awesome. Well, you sound like very professional. Okay, very cool.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. Yeah, interviews could be a good use cases, and lab report pretty good. You never done report or some documents. This will give you some ideas. And yeah, this one medical also very helpful. Yeah, so this is just like seeing a doctor. A lot of very basic things. Honestly, the AI can do a pretty good job. Obviously, you often need to verify certain things. And a lot of it diet and eating, breakfast, dinner stuff, I'm gonna skip those. Okay, so you guys definitely care about eating. Um, resume. All right, very specific tech questions. Yeah, this one is also pretty cool at the end. So ask some questions until you're sure I understand the differences. This is almost like a test, but I think this is just very useful for us to learn like certain kind of things, right? So sometimes you feel you understand it, but maybe not completely. This type of thing will help you to verify. Okay, so very cool. Yeah, good job, guys. But yeah, just always remember this legal scenario that it's almost like you go to see a lawyer or accountant. Okay, so that's the flip interaction pattern. So everything we talk about this course probably super easy. Okay, this is the same thing you can teach it to the middle school students. But generative AI at this level, I think it's really, really practical. It just matter of whether you know this or not. Once you've seen it, you can start to use it right away. Next pattern, gameplay pattern. Okay, so this one, as the name suggested, just trying to make games do certain things. And then mostly I think it's for learning purposes. Okay, create game for me around X, or we're gonna play a game X, and one or more fundamental rules here. So let's look at examples. Okay, create a text RPG game for me to learn Python, and I should discover the new syntax and language features followed by finishing the test and exercise. It told me about the first thing and then asked me what action to take. All right. So that's what I mean. A lot of those are useful for learning purposes. Okay, so I go here. All right, so let's see the Python, the code quest. Okay, they have first thing. Okay, the village of variables. We can acquire a piece of village called syntax springs. And the sky is bright, the birds chirp in a list of comprehension reason, and a glowing blah blah blah, I'm not read it, and all of this. And then suddenly the village elderly approaches to you, an old sage with a long bread shaped like a letter. Uh, Man, I don't know how to read a lot of these languages. Okay, so anyway, so here the Python code, and you have print and your task in scene one, speak to them, and they will teach you about shortfalls. And two is visit farmer of flows and complete your first challenge. And what do you like to do? So, yeah, there's a very sophisticated. Okay, but like I'll just say, let me see what I can do. I'll just try to solve the challenge. I'll do D. All right. All right, so they gave you this, they gave you this. Oh, that. So this is not very good. I just feel this is very confusing because I'm trying to solve the challenge and then they didn't give me a chance to input certain things. Okay. Yeah, but you got idea. Okay, so this thing, I think we need to modify this a little bit more to make sure we can actually input and interact with, right? So please modify the game and make sure the players can always type some code. Don't make the choices too complicated. All right, so they restart the first task. Okay, so create a variable name to store your name and use print to say hello, right? So, and I'm gonna do a name. All right, I'll do print name, something like this. All right, that shows the message. Very good. And then they keep going. All right, so just give you this kind of interactive game scenario. Okay, so pretty simple. And obviously, you can just do more requirements. Okay, create a cave exploration game for me to discover a lost language. Describe where I am in the cave, what I can do. I should discover new words, symbols for the lost civilization. Each area of the cave I visit, each area should also have part of a story that use the language. I should have to collect all the words and symbols to be able to understand the story. Tell me about the first area. Okay, just something more specific of learning some kind of lost languages and the lost language of here. Yeah. All right. See, they started to use this kind of symbols. Okay, pretty interesting. All right. Anyway, we're not gonna play this one, but pretty simple. All right. Just like last time, okay. Just send me something very quick. This one is very simple, but I want to see kind of what kind of the cool things you could learn with the game. I feel that the lost language could be a very good example. I think programming wise, and I don't know if it's the best, okay, but just think about other topics. All right. Still make some submissions for me so that I can also write down some of the good ideas from you guys. Okay. Give it another 3 minutes. All right. So we're gonna play a vocabulary adventure game. Each turn, you gave me a new English word and four possible meanings. If I pick the correct meaning, I earn 5 points and move on to the next level of the adventure. If I get wrong, you explain the word in the example sentence. I stay at the same level, start with the first word. Yeah, that's a very decent, very detailed rules. Okay, so the more specific rule you can give, I think the better the result will be. And play Jeopardy of computer science and learning Japanese and learning algebra and also another Jeopardy. Okay, just pure games. Yeah, this is also a good one. How to learn the clean code practices. Okay, so that's a basic how to write a professional, nice and organized code. All right, looks good. This one is pretty straightforward. Okay, so I think, as I mentioned, the most useful scenario is that you're learning something, you find it's boring. I think this one will help you a lot. Okay, so keep that in mind, the gameplay pattern. Next one is the recipe pattern. Okay, so um, if you look at the template first, I would like to achieve certain goal. I know that I need to perform steps and please give me a complete sequence of steps for me. Fill in any missing steps and identify any unnecessary steps. Okay. So basically, it still teach you how to do certain things, but obviously you have certain things in your mind, or you have some kind of conditions or constraints, and you want AI to finish the rest and complete the rest for you. So a lot of time you don't have to use this sophisticated things, but this one just gave you some kind of idea on, what a better, kind of a way to ask for help. Okay, just give you more specific information. And if you look at this pattern, obviously you can probably write better inputs to some of the questions. I like to organize a hackathon. Okay, I know that I need to perform steps, decide a date, invite judges. Please provide a complete sequence of steps for me, filling any missing steps. So not sure how many of you have done this one, but hackathon definitely a lot of organization work to do. Right. So this one they will tell you pre-planning, goal, audience, what's the theme, it's AI, health, finance, decide a format, and a virtual hybrid. And then date and time important, and the venue, especially if you want to do it in person. And also you should have a team, okay, not just yourself, a core team to help you organize what would the prices where those are coming from. And you need to definitely have sponsors, very important. That's how you attract people. Judges, mentors, very important. And also branding, promotion. And finally, you have registration. Okay. And then here you start to decide the rules, plan the day schedule, communication channel, evaluation criteria. And on the day, kick off the event, ongoing support, demos, submissions, and finally judging a reward and follow up, feedback, highlights, report. It's a really nice, checklist. Okay. Even if you've never done this before, if you just look at this one, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you will know what to follow. Okay, it's a very good way to guide you to do things like this. All right. But then you are asking a very specific sequence of steps. Okay, that's what the pattern provides you. And also you mentioned that you know certain things, but you don't know the rest. I would like to purchase a house. I know that I need to perform steps, like making an offer, close on the house. We provide a complete sequence of steps for me, fill in any missing steps. Okay, this is also very useful. And buying a house. Okay, so you gotta have some financial preparation, assess your financial situation, how much income you have, and because most of the time when you buy a house, you need a mortgage, you need a loan. So what's the basic status? What's your budget? How much you want to spend? And you need to get a pre-approval. Because if you want a mortgage and then you need to borrow the money, then the bank need to approve that for you. And you search for the home, you have an agent, your expectation requirements, and search and tour, and you select your choices. Okay. And then you started making offers, and then you negotiate the terms, and finally, if the offer accepted, and then you enter the ask score. And then at the end, you need to do the home inspection, you need to contact bank for the approval, appraisal, and then also your loan. You gotta finish that one. You gotta get insurance and the final walkthrough, and then it's closing. Once you're done, you got all the document, close the house, you get a key moving, and set up utilities, change your address, save your documents. Okay, it's a very complete and detailed but concise process. Okay, if you ever done a house buying, hunting, you probably will understand. Okay, so that's how you know, the recipe pattern works. Okay. Other examples, like I would like to drive from New York City to Nashville. From Nashville, I know I need to go through here, and I don't want to drive more than 300 miles per day. Give you a complete sequence of steps. I'm not going to run this one, but you can see you can provide the steps and the conditions you want. Okay, and then let the AI to give you the rest. Okay, so that's the recipe pattern. Okay, but here I want to dive this a little bit more because I already found this one's useful. I didn't ask you, okay, anyone have been involved in buying a house? I don't know how many of you actually personally have done that already, or you were closely involved in your family, parents, the process. Anyone? Right? Well, that's good. That means you guys are still very young, right? So that's very good. So here, buying a house it looks like there's a lot of no steps. Okay, but same time, it's not really that difficult. The most important thing is the financials. Okay, you gotta have enough money, or you can get a loan. But then once you get a loan, you gotta make sure that you can, pay those loan monthly. Okay, so that means you need to have income. So that's what this pre-approval is trying to do. So if you don't have any income, no bank's gonna borrow that money to you to buy the house. Okay, but anyway, guys, here I just want to give you some little financial lecture here, because I actually find that's the earlier you can know about this one, the better. Okay, so I assume most of you guys, okay, are actually renting. Okay, um, how could you guys type in the chat how much you guys spend on rent? Just like a range or estimate. Anyone like how much you guys spend on rent? Just give me some numbers, guys. Yeah, yeah, cause you share with your roommates or yourself. Okay. Yep. So in California, definitely it's not very cheap. Okay. So when I was in, um, well, I was gonna say that when I was in the grad school, I was in the state of Alabama. I think probably I don't know whoever ever been there, but it was very cheap. Okay, that was 2007, 2008, and then but the whole Alabama is so much cheaper than California. You guys are in the most expensive space. And that one, the cheapest one I got was a two-bedroom apartment was only $450 per month. And then because the living room was kind of separated, so we had three people living there. So everyone is paying really less than $200 per month for a pretty nice apartment. Okay, so but obviously here it's very expensive. Here, guys, I don't know how many of you know this one, okay, but I based on my experience, most of you don't know this. I still want to mention this one a little bit. Okay, renting, there's no problem, but you should know that renting may not be the best option for you financially because, whatever monthly rent, okay, you have, okay, let's say you pay for 1,500, okay, and then that money just go away, okay, so you leave it for 1 year, 2 year, after that 2 year you stay or you don't stay, it doesn't matter because that money is gone, okay, so um and nothing to do with you because that's not your property, you're just renting, you're paying for it, right? So that's the situation. So from that point of view, this is purely just a cost, right? So you don't really make any money, you're not getting anything. A better way is that if you own a house, okay, or apartment, doesn't matter, okay, your space. Obviously, that's a lot better. But then you might be saying, "Oh, this is going to cost me a lot of money, all of this." Okay, so that's why I want you to know this one a little bit earlier, because if you could move from renting to owning as early as you can, I think you will have a lot of financial beneficial because owning a space is more like an investment. Okay, so this is a lot of work, right? So you're trying to buy a house, right? So you need to have a budget. Okay. So let's say you're gonna do let's make it things easy. Okay. We're gonna say that we're gonna buy a $1 million house. Okay. So that's very expensive, but in California, this is not really a very big number. Depending on the area, you may not get a very decent one, even with $1 million. But let's use that number to calculate it. Okay. Well, obviously, most people cannot pay that much in the very beginning, so you need to get a loan. Okay, or you call it mortgage. Same thing. You borrow money from the bank. Okay, but normally the bank asks you to put some down payment. They don't want to give you the whole $1 million all right away. So maybe you put, 200,000 and then you loan for 800, right? Okay. And then so which means you have down payment. So that one is 200,000. Okay. So that means you need to have this at the saving or your parents gave you or whatever, you must have this one. Otherwise, no bank's gonna give you the rest. So that's why in the beginning, if you want to buy a house, very important thing, save some money, get your payment, down payment as soon as you can. And then the rest you go to the mortgage. That's when the ChatGPT said that you need to do the pre-approval, you need to have a job, you need to have income. Otherwise, they don't know how you can pay them back. Because once you have a loan, you buy the house, you're gonna do your monthly payment. Okay. So normally like loan will be like 30 years. So you pay this one, 12 times a year for 30 years. And you break it down and there will be an interest rate. Right now, the rate is pretty high. It's almost 6%. But if you look at during the pandemic, it was very low. It's like 2%, sometimes 3%, around 3% during the pandemic. That was very, very low. But 6% is very high right now. So that's how the bank can make money, right? So the way it works is that, for example, you're gonna pay back this 800,000 divide by 30, divide by 12 months a year. So on average, you're paying 2,200, but you're going to do more than that because you need to pay the interest to the banks. So maybe you just have to pay, maybe 300,000 per month. Okay. So that's 3,000, including both we call the principals and interest. Okay. The principal means that 2,200, that's basically what you own for the bank, right? That's what the money you borrow. But then the interest, that 800, that is basic just the fees you gave to the bank. See, that's how bank can make money. They give you the money, you pay extra, and that's how they make money. That's reasonable because without that money, you had to wait for 30 years and your life is gone, right? So I think it's worth to pay the interest. That's why the interest rate really important because that determines how much more extra things you have to pay. So the lower the better. for us when you try to loan certain things. Okay, that's how the payment works for the $3,000. Okay, so let's say that now if you own a place, okay, you go through all the whole process, you get the down payment there, you got a loan, you start to pay the monthly payment. Okay, so you still have a monthly payment. And this case also has a monthly payment. Okay, but the situation is very, very different. Okay, because now you are making the monthly payment, and but that payment is not going to be gone. Okay, so let's say like 5 years later. Okay, so how much money you paid in total? So 3,000 times 12 and times 5. Okay, so that is and 180. So you have to pay a total of this after 5 years. Okay. And then, but that money is you pay, but it's not all gone. Okay, part of it is the interest. Okay, so and then part of it is principals, right? So if you do the calculation, this one, that goes to principals. Okay, so this one is 22, so that's 132,000, and then this one is the fee you pay to the bank. So that's 48. All right. See, after 5 years, you made all of the payment. Okay, majority of those actually you just paid back to your own house, or because that's the money you own. You just have paid them back. This one is gone. This part of money is gone because that's the interest, that's the fees you gave to the bank. Okay. So obviously the ratio matters. You want to definitely get the better rate here. Okay. I don't know if this number is accurate, but the rate will affect how much extra fees you pay. Okay. So that's why if you have to pay some kind of monthly payment anyway, so obviously we want to make sure that the money actually goes back to your assets because you already own this house, and then you actually you're not just give away the money. You actually part of the money actually goes back here. This is how to calculate it. So 5 years later, right? So initially you own only 20, you only pay this much. Let's say at that time, if you buy the house, you sell the house for $1 million, you only can get 200,000 because that's your money. The rest is the bank. You have to pay back the bank. But after 5 years, if you sell the house, okay, for $1 million, okay, what you're gonna get is the 1 million minus that bank's money, and you still need to gain this much because that's the money you already paid. So which means you don't own that much money to the banks. Okay. So you're gonna get a lot extra, right? So that you got a 30, this one, this much. Okay, that's the money you can get after 5 years. Okay. So that's the first thing you got to understand, that as you are paying the mortgage, that's better than the rent because majority part of mortgage will goes back to your own account. You just cannot spend it. You just send it back to the bank, and it's add to your house. So it was not wasted. All right. Does that make sense, guys? All right. So that's one benefit. All right. But the bigger benefits, guys, is here. So you might say, well, this is not much money, and also I have to pay like the fees, right? So you also pay like this much like interest. So it's not really okay. You have to minus all those. Yes, that's true, but there is a bigger part of this is that 5 years later, guys, I just give you an example that you just sell the house for $1 million, but if you bought a house 5 years ago and then 5 years later, are you gonna still sell that for 1 million? Obviously not. Very likely, or more than likely, you're gonna sell a lot more than $1 million because the house will appreciate it most of the time, or in the long run, it always appreciate. I don't know if you guys have any ideas. If you look at the housing price, okay, even in some of this cities like Pomona, which is not a bad city, right? Even these kind of places, if you look at the past 5 years, okay, that's crazy. Okay, so let's just randomly pick a house. Okay, like this one here, this one is 600,000. And then right now it's sell for marketing for 600,000. But if you look at the pricing change, let's see, there should be some kind of graphs. Um, this is not good. Let's look at this. Mona. All right, let's do this one here. This point right now is for 675,000. And then if you look at the pricing, wait, there is no graph? I saw there's some kind of graph you can see. Um, anyway, so you can look at this one. So back in 2021, when this house was lastly sold, okay, it was sold for $550,000. But now, 4 years later, okay, they're trying to sell this one for a lot more. Okay, so $675,000, which is 20% more. Okay. So because the market goes up, because inflation, because everything, and now the house is gonna worth more than before. So this is actually super important, guys. So now you go back here. When you are really trying to sell the house, okay, after 5 years, this is not gonna be the number. Okay. What you will probably do is gonna sell this at least for this $1.2 million because of appreciation. Right? So then if you use the same formula to calculate this, the things will be different. If let's say you got this house sold and then you still do this one and then and plus this one, and then now you get what? Like 500. This is the amount you're getting. If you can sell the house after 5 years. All right. And now if you think about this at the investment, so the total money you put, okay, was initial the 200,000 plus all this payment you made in the past 5 years, which is this, all the payments. Okay. But now you're getting this number after selling the house after 5 years. So take a look at what you're gaining. So after 5 years, you are actually making this much, which is, let me calculate it. You're making 152. All right. So um, that's the difference, guys. 5 years you live here, you pay whatever amount, it's gone. And 5 years you support a house. After that, you sold it, you are actually making this much. Not only you leave that place for free, but also you're still making this much. Okay, that's because that's an investment. Because the house itself, it will appreciate it, and all the money you're sending didn't actually go away. All right. Hopefully you see the difference, guys. Okay, so that's why owning a house, paying the mortgage in general, okay, in general, it's better than renting. Obviously, you don't want to buy like a very luxury house and you can't afford that. That's a different story. So we're talking about a reasonable range, a reasonable budget, and within your budget and within a reasonable interest rate, that's where you want to be. Okay. Now, this is not even the best scenario. The better scenario, guys, is that you own a house, um, and same time, okay, you also rent it out. All right. So same example here. You are paying this much monthly, but because you got, let's say you got a 3 bedroom, okay, and you're a single, you just need 1 bedroom. Okay, why don't you just rent out the other 2 bedroom? Okay, like some of you mentioned, Carlos mentioned about 650, Dale mentioned 1,000, 500, yours is a decent place. So let's say you're renting this much per month. Okay, you got 2 people. Okay, so you are making an extra income Okay. So you actually got extra income. And which means that your monthly payment is not going to be 3,000. Your monthly payment is only going to be 1,500 because your tenants are paying the rest. You're making the income. And so this is a lot nicer, right? In many cases, if you calculate it right, if you got right budget and right rates, right numbers, sometimes you can make this even break even. You can say, well, my place is so good. Okay, I have a really good location, close to school, walking distance. I'm gonna charge you 1,500, and then like they're gonna pay you in total 3,000, and then you pay nothing. Okay, you pay literally nothing. And then after 5 years, and then the things you're making is this much. Okay, so the result is that 5 years before, you put your down payment, the 200,000. You leave there completely for free, no payment at all, because your tenants are paying that for you. 5 years later, if you want to sell it, you're getting this, and you are actually making 300, this one. All right. So this is the best scenario. Okay. Not only you're owning, but you have someone, but obviously you sacrifice this, right? You're just not just live there yourself. You have somebody else in your house. Um, but financially, this is really good. Okay. So anyway, guys, I know this is a little bit off topic, but I have to tell you, this kind of thing is super easy. If you look at any kind of the real estate investment book or tutorial, they will tell you the same thing. The reason the theory here is super, super easy. But there's one thing very important is that this one is much more valuable if you can do that early. Okay, you don't want to wait for 40 years old to do this one. Okay, because then you don't have much life left. If you can start this one in your early 20s, mid 20s, even like 30, that's much more significant than you started later. Because think about if you don't do it, a lot of money you're gonna waste it in the rent. The rent is a very big deal. Honestly, this 1,500, you know it, is you get nothing. Once you start to work, you're not gonna still to do this 1,500 rent. Okay, you move to San Francisco, you're gonna pay at least $3,000 or $4,000 for the rent, at least. Okay, even in California, I think paying 3,000 is pretty common, right? That big amount of money, that's your after tax money. That's a lot of things going on. Okay, so all of those rent will be gone. Remember, okay, so that's why you should try to own the place as early as you can. However, owning the place, the most important part is here. Okay, that's why most people cannot own a house because they don't have enough down payment. That's why in the very beginning, try to save some money, make more money, get your down payment as early as you can. Once you own it, and then the rest will be easier. Okay, there are always ways that can make sure that you can still support. Obviously, you do have want to have a job. Okay. One of our students, his name is Isaac. Okay, he graduated in 2018. Very good student. Okay, so he moved to Austin. He worked for Apple at that time. I told him this simple thing. I said, Isaac, so you got a good like signing bonus. I think he got like $50,000, something like this. Get a house as soon as you can. Don't rent it. And he listened. 3 months later, he sent an email. I got a house. At that time, it was around 300,000 in Texas. Not very expensive. See, the down payment only probably 50,000, 60,000. He bought this very quickly. It was only 3 bedroom, but he rented, just like what I told you. I think at that time, not only he break even, he even make money. Okay, so which means that he actually he probably renting this one for 4,000 somehow, and then not only you don't have you have even an income with the house. Okay, that's even better. And then he did that. Now it's 2025. Austin, the housing price isn't the best right now, but it actually went up a lot. That $300,000 house probably right now is at least $500,000 house. Okay, because it appreciates so much after almost 10 years. So Isaac's still in Napa in Texas, but that part actually. Sometimes it can make more than your salary. But the next part about that income is that this is something we call a passive income. Okay, you don't have to work, right? It's not, one day you got to disable, you can't work, you don't have income, but the house is always there. It always makes money for you. So that's called a passive income. So everything I'm sharing today, guys, are super, super simple. Okay, I didn't create it. These are all the existing financial or investment, real estate investment knowledge, and you can understand it very easily. But the most important thing is actions. Okay, taking actions and try to get involved this one as early as you can. And yeah, you will start to benefit from it. Okay. So I hope you guys can remember this one more or less. And one day, if you can do this one, I'm sure you will probably appreciate what I told you today. All right. So that's all for today. All right. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Okay. Let me know if any questions. Does this kind of thing make sense? All right. Well, anyway, hopefully you guys find it useful. Okay. So I try my best to give you some of the best lessons, probably more useful than some of these patterns. All right, guys. I will see you guys next time. Okay.